Thank you everyone for checking in. It's always nice to hear your updates about how it's going on for you. We fluctuate all the time. Needless to say, everything is impermanent, subject to change. Last week, we talked a lot about detachment. Detachment is very simple. It means don't grasp. It's the opposite of attachment. When you grasp onto something so tightly, as though it's something so dear to you, that it revolves around your world, your life, then when it starts to change, you will suffer. Or when you're attached to something negative, obviously you're picking up suffering and holding on to it until it's burning your own hands. Today I trained my legs very crazily. And then I just had a thought that I punish my legs today. And the next 3 days, because I tortured my legs today, my legs going to torture me for the next 3 days. Cause and effect. And it also got me thinking, when you torture your mind, meaning you give your mind more than you can handle, or you make yourself unhappy, then your mind is going to torture you when you want to go to bed or when you want to relax. It's not going to let you relax. If you torture your mind by picking up so much workload, and it's okay to take up what you can handle. But if you choose to be stressful, you choose to be unmindful, you choose to react with unhappiness over some things that are not going well, they're not going smoothly, not going the way you want it to, then you are torturing your own mind. You're creating suffering for your own mind because you're not responding with understanding and mindfulness. You are reacting with stress and unhappiness. Then for the next few days, your mind is probably going to do the same thing back to you by torturing you. When you want to enjoy a meal, it's like, no, I'm not going to let you enjoy the meal. When you want to relax, it's like, I'm not going to let you relax. You want to watch Netflix, it says, I'm not going to let you focus on the show. You're not going to absorb anything. I'm going to make you brain dead. I'm going to make you depleted. Then you want to sleep, wake up fresh. The mind's going to say, no, 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 no. You tortured me for hours on Monday during that meeting. Remember? And after the meeting, you started torturing me again by ranting to your friends or ranting in your head, ruminating over it. It's like, haha, I'm going to get you again. So there's a cycle. We talked about perceptions last week about sanya and what kind of mental formations can come up. Things can appear, they can manifest. A cloud can manifest. Hot weather is manifesting now, but it's how we're responding to it. If we learn how to respond, okay, it's a very hot season now. Some of us do not like the humidity, we do not like the heat, but if we can bring about understanding and clarity that, okay, it's a passing season, it's fine. I'll just go to somewhere with air conditioning. And if there's no air conditioning, it's okay. I don't have to stress about it. I don't need to be upset. I don't need to be unhappy. I just accept it the way it is. That is non-attachment. When you grasp onto things, you start thinking along it, you start creating many, many ideas of how it should be, how you would like it to be, how you don't want it to be. That is suffering. That is the first noble truth, the noble truth of dukkha. Buddha said, when you're associated with something that you dislike, that is dukkha. When you're separated from something that you like, that is also dukkha. Clinging onto the 5 aggregates of form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, that itself, if you cling onto it as though it's yourself, that self-identity, that is dukkha. I won't go so much into the 5 aggregates because it's been uploaded already. So after this session, you can go back to it to understand more about how, when we cling onto the 5 aggregates as self, we can begin to suffer. So the practice of detachment is about understanding. It's about being mindful that things arise, things manifest when there's causes and conditions, just like the hot weather. Now you can't feel the heat. You're not perspiring because you have moved to somewhere cooler. But is the heat causing us mental suffering? Is it causing us dukkha? No. It is just the way the world is. And if we freak out over the heat, we do not like it. But that doesn't mean that everyone in Southeast Asia is hating it. There are still people smiling. There's people who actually enjoy the warmth. So you see, when things appear and we don't put perceptions on it, there is no dukkha. It is just the way it is. the practice of the first element of the Noble Eightfold Path, which is the fourth Noble Truth, right? The Noble Eightfold Path is samadhi. Samadhi means right view, having the right view on things. In other words, it means having no views on things. Because when you have a view on things, you think that it is inherently existent. When you look at our heat, you think that, oh, it is inherent, it's creating dukkha, it's creating suffering, I don't like it. You see, there's a view around it. Instead of just saying, oh, it's the nature of the weather to change. There's hot seasons, there's cool season, there's freezing seasons, there's rainy seasons. We just allow it, we accept it, we embrace it. And that's about all. We don't put so much ideas onto it. Then there's no suffering. Dukkha cannot arise. That is liberation. So whatever happens, things that you like, things that you did not anticipate, if you reflect, you introspect into your mind, why are we having dukkha? Why are we stressed? Why are we unhappy? Why are we frustrated? It's because we have a lot of views around it. You want someone to improve. You want a system in your company to improve. That is a view. That is a desire. But I'm not saying that you can't have that desire for positive change. You can have it, but you need to learn how to have that desire without the wrong views, without attachment. When you hold onto it too tightly, then you will suffer. And for those of you who are parents or you're a pet owner, you understand. If you cling onto your loved one so tightly, oh, I need to protect you, I don't want you to fall sick, I want you to be smart, I want you to be the best dog in the whole world, I want you to be a smart child, I don't want you to suffer, I want you to prevent you from death, then you're going to lock them up in the prison. You're going to imprison them. And every time you think about them, you're going to create a lot of stress. But is it your loved one or things that are important to you? Are they the ones giving you stress? Are they the ones giving you dukkha? No. It is our attachment onto it, our views of how we want things to be like, and we just cling onto it so tightly. That is how we create our own suffering. And when we torture our minds like this, the mind is going to torture us back in return. I don't need to guarantee you that because we've lived enough decades to know that. But then, if you learn how to respond to things with understanding, you learn how to appreciate things, you learn how to cherish things because you know they won't last forever, you create happiness. When your mind is happy, you give happiness to your mind. It's going to give it back to you. You're going to sleep well. You're going to enjoy your meals. You're going to enjoy life. So it's how we want to look at things, how we want to respond. Because in fact, everything is neutral. Everything that appears in front of you, whatever you see, whatever you hear, taste, smell, touch, it is neutral. Even things that you think about, if you meditate deep enough, a thought comes up. But when you have a view or a perception around that thought, it creates emotions, it creates feelings. Otherwise, it's just a thought, nothing else. So we need to be very, very mindful to see how we are reacting to things as they arise, and to see that these things are fundamentally empty, they're neutral. That is the practice of non-grasping. So the difference between what we call wholesome desire and unwholesome desire is that one is done without any wisdom, and the other one is done with clarity. The Buddha talks about chanda, the four powers, the itthipada. Chanda means the will. We all need to have will to come here to practice, to go towards enlightenment, towards nirvana. It is a will. It's a chanda. It comes with heart. It comes with understanding, and then we put our diligent effort into it. It's different from karma. K-A-M-A. Karma is desire. Right? Desire is seen as something that's unmindful. Desire for this, desire for that, desire not to have this, desire for that to go away. So in our lives, there's actually not much things that warrants us to suffer if we learn how to look at it this way. Practice of samadhi, of right view, is to learn to see things the way they are. That nothing is inherently happy, nothing is inherently dukkha. It is just the way it is. And we need to learn to understand it. And what we need to catch is whether we're putting a lot of views and ideas into it. Because if you think back, these are things that actually make us suffer. You cling onto something that feels dear to you, and then control starts to come in. You want to control it. And then if it's beyond your control, stress, frustrations, sometimes even sadness and anxiety comes about. And sometimes we don't have to wait for things to change. It's that we simply just have a fear of losing something. When we have that fear of losing something, we are already suffering before we even lose it, before that thing will even change. That itself is dukkha. So the Buddha, he said that he actually only taught two things, and I reiterated this before. He only taught dukkha and the end of dukkha. In all the suttas, in all the practices that he taught, it's only what is dukkha. And there's also the cessation of dukkha. So that's what we practice, regardless of what kind of teachings we receive, what kind of meditations we do. In our day-to-day, is to see dukkha very clearly, suffering. Now, if you see dukkha, there is an opportunity for you to help the dukkha to end. Because when there is dukkha, there is nirvana. Just like Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh said, no mud, no lotus. The mud is like suffering, and lotus, it grows from mud. That is nirvana. That is enlightenment. So we should not be afraid of dukkha. When we notice dukkha, we need to come with the eyes of Dharma. In the Mahayana Sutras, we have very different eyes. We have the human eye, which is the physical eye. We have the Prajna Paramita eye. We have the eye of the Buddha, eye of wisdom, and the divine eye, the third eye. But to summarize it, there's the human eye and there is the eye of Dharma. So we need to be very mindful of how we choose to look at things. When we suffer, we feel stressed, we feel that we're getting a burnout, we are unhappy. That is the eye, the human eye, that is looking at things. But the Dharma eye can come in to see that, oh, there is suffering, there is dukkha, and that is the doorway to nirvana. It is an opportunity for you to be liberated, to detach with understanding. And practice is actually that the direct path is very, very simple. Just that sometimes we are very caught up with everything. We are very caught up with our ideals. We are very caught up with our aspirations, whether it's your personal goals or the goals of the development and transformation of others. We can be very caught up in all these things. And as I thought about this last week, that these are all clouds of thoughts and winds of emotions. But the sky is like the mind. It is blue, deep, vast, spacious. It allows things to pass. It allows things to change. But the sky is just the sky. Nothing is imprinted on the sky. Nothing can taint the sky. And our mindfulness is like the sunlight of awareness. As simple as that. So we will learn how to see that all these things are not inherently existing. Be it dukkha, ideas, views, your manas. We see that there's causes and conditions that bring them up. That created them. It also means that causes and conditions can lead to their transformation and even their cessation. They are not inherent. But if we choose to believe, oh, you know what, I'm just like this, I'm like that. I'm a very emotional person, I'm a very sentimental person, I'm a very altruistic person, or I'm a very stubborn person, then you're seeing these things as fixed. You're seeing these formations within you as something that's fixed, as though it exists on its own. Then that is what we call mana ditthi, that self-view. You're clinging onto the idea of self very tightly. There is something existing separate from everything else, that it can't be changed. That itself, that clinging, the wrong notion itself is dukkha. Because where you will be very easily subjected to things that you agree or you disagree. Things that you agree comes about, you feel overjoyed, you feel excited, you feel very happy, you feel blissful. And then obviously, if you are overly attached to it, you want it to last no matter what. You want to prevent it from disappearing. And that is a very vicious cycle. And sometimes, whether we're males or females, we can be very bitchy. So, oh, I'm just like this. That's me. That's me, right? And that itself is the ego arising, clinging, and then we will be limiting our views. We will be not views. We will be limiting our perceptions, our perceptives. We can't see things the way they are. We can't see broader, and that also means that we're restricting ourselves from learning about the new things that are manifesting in our lives. There could be other joyful moments. So to know impermanence, anicca, it can help us to learn to appreciate things, the good things when they arise. I'm not saying be aloof and detached and don't feel happiness. It's impossible. We're sentient beings, we have feelings. But to know, okay, this is a very happy moment, I'm going to enjoy it. It's not going to last, but I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm going to appreciate it. That is wisdom. And then when it disappears, like, you know what, it's okay. Because I know this does not define me. Then when there's dukkha, unhappy moments coming up, it's the same thing. Oh, there is dukkha. And why am I feeling that suffering? There's a wrong view here. There's too many perceptions. There's clinging. You see it with your eyes of Dharma. Then you can liberate yourself with the Dhamma Chakra, the Dharma eye. And poof, that's it. You're just back. So that practice is very simple, the Zen-like practice. So we should not belittle the Dhamma Chakra, the eye of Dharma. In the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, in the Buddha's first discourse, when he gave the teachings on the Four Noble Truths, the first 5 disciples, they were his audience, Konanya. Konanya, in the scripture, it says that he opened his eyes of Dharma and he became a stream enterer or stream winner, which is the first stage of enlightenment, just by listening to the Buddha talk about this discourse on the Four Noble Truths. Because he exclaimed that, whatever is subject to arising is also subject to cessation. He understood that these 5 aggregates are empty in nature. That even he himself, the idea of his self, were created by causes and conditions, and causes and conditions can also lead to its cessation. There's nothing to cling on to. And he became safe. And why do we say safe? Because in samsara, which is the endless cyclic rebirth, you wouldn't know where your next life is going to be. You can come back as a human to live through everything again, right? A new family, new race, and maybe even a new gender. And I think it's going to be a bad idea to come back as a human. The wars, global warming, pollution. Imagine you come back in the next 50 years, I don't know how the air is going to be like. I think it's going to be terrible. And if the economy is not doing well, it's like, more stress. Even if you're born in a rich family, I think you will be more stressed, right? 50 years ago, the wealthy don't have to work at all. They just party and they don't work. But today, in the Forbes top 10, they have to work, right? It's very different now. So I don't know, in the next 50 years, if you come back as a human being, you're born to the richest person in the world. I think it's going to be a lot of stress, even to be born rich or poor, doesn't matter. It's a terrible place to come back to. Or you can become a heavenly being, then good for you. Maybe you come back as a mosquito, as a monkey, as an insect, as a hungry ghost, as a hell being, as an asura, the demigods, the more violent in nature. We don't know. So the Buddha said that when we get into the first stage of enlightenment, by relinquishing our self-view, that is a stream winner, stream enterer. You never fall back because you have entered the stream of Dharma towards Nirvana. And for a stream winner, the stream winner will only be reborn as either a human being or a heavenly being for 7 lifetimes before getting full enlightenment. So that is safe passage. But no saint is going to wait for one, I give you stream reading. No, it doesn't happen. It's our own liberation. If we can liberate ourselves from the self-view, the egolessness, then you will only be a human or a heavenly being. You won't fall to a lower state. Then you're guaranteed enlightenment in 7 lifetimes. It could be one lifetime. You never know, right? Because in one lifetime, you can gain many stages. And you will always be born in the place where Dharma is present. And you can, in a way, relearn the practice and the teachings. So the Dhamma Chaku. Chaku means eye. Dhamma means Dhamma. When you open up your Dhamma Chaku, it's more important than the Divine Eye. I forgot the translation of the Divine Eye. So in the first discourse by the Buddha, he didn't say, oh, Anya Konanya, open up his divine eye, he could see the heavenly beings, he could see the karmas of others, he can penetrate into the minds of other people. Buddha said, yeah, it's good when someone can have that eye, but most importantly, is the eye of Dharma. Even in our occult practices, now we Sariputta Mahapuru say one time one loka samang tamanam putana the gatha of Shariputra, which is the Buddha's disciple foremost in wisdom. It talks about the Dhamma Chatu, which is the eye of Dhamma. And we usually like bless children. When the parents bring their small kids, oh, bless my kid, what do you bless with? Safety and what else? Or get good grades, and we will just bless with wisdom, but we chant the Dhamma Chatu into them. The belief is that they can give them more intelligence. Right? So tonight's practice, we want to look deeply into ourselves. Think about what is your greatest blockage towards happiness. What kind of dukkha are you experiencing? And why do you have dukkha? Why is that clinging? What kind of attachment, like how intense is the attachment? What kind of fears do we have within ourselves? Because ultimately the question is to ask, how long have we been torturing ourselves? How long have we been torturing our minds? And that is the reflection. Because when you see into your own cause of dukkha, that's where you can liberate yourself from it. That is a problem. Doesn't matter whether you have a diagnosis or not. Doesn't matter whether your problem is big or small. It's how much intensity are we giving them? And that grasping. We want to look into that grasping, into that unmindful desire. And we see things as though they last forever because we're not accepting a certain truth. We're not accepting that we are not in total control. And we need to learn to accept that. We need to humble ourselves. All right? So I won't be guiding much. So just continue into your meditation.